dare you approach me here?
Hey! Madam, calm down. What is happening here?
Every day, people walk past the poor without a second glance. They judge them by their clothes, their shoes, their tired faces. But one proud woman made a terrible mistake when she slapped a poor old man in public, mocking him for being beneath her. She never asked his story. She never looked beyond his worn clothes. But one quiet afternoon, something shocking happened. A private jet stopped right in front of her engagement party, and her whole life changed in a way she never expected. Who was that old man really? Sit back and find out as we delve into this touching story. In the heart of Lagos, where the rich and poor live side by side, the afternoon sun burned hot. Cars honked loudly on the busy roads. Motorcycles weaved through traffic. People shouted, laughed, and rushed from one place to another. Outside the Golden Plaza shopping mall, the crowd was thick. Women carried shopping bags. Men talked on their phones. Children ran between adults, playing and laughing. But suddenly, everything stopped. A sharp sound cut through the noise. Slap! The sound echoed across the parking lot like thunder. Everyone turned to look. A woman stood in the middle of the crowd. Her hand was still raised. She was beautiful, around 30 years old, with smooth, dark skin and long braided hair that fell down her back. She wore a fitted navy blue suit that hugged her curves perfectly. Gold jewelry sparkled on her wrists and neck. Her makeup was flawless. Her high heels were designer brands. Everything about her screamed money and power. Her name was Sabrina. In front of her stood an old man. He looked to be around 55 years old. His face showed years of hard work and suffering. His shirt was faded and worn. His trousers had small tears at the knees. His sandals were old and cracked. His hair was grey and uncombed. His cheek was red from where she hit him. "How dare you?" Sabrina shouted, her voice sharp and angry. "How dare you stare at me like that?" The old man blinked slowly. His eyes were confused. His voice was soft. "Madam, I did not stare at you. I was just walking. I promise you I would never do such a thing." "Liar!" Sabrina spat the word like poison. "I saw you with my own eyes. You were following me. You were looking at me with those dirty eyes of yours." The old man shook his head gently. "No, madam, please believe me. I would never disrespect you. You are the same age as my daughter. I was only walking in the same direction, that is all." A small crowd began to form around them. People stopped what they were doing. Some pulled out their phones to record. Others whispered to each other. Sabrina laughed, but there was no joy in it. It was a cold, mocking laugh. "Your daughter?" she said, her eyes scanning him from head to toe with disgust. "Look at yourself. Look at your dirty clothes. Look at your torn sandals. You cannot even take care of yourself, and you are talking about having a daughter." She stepped closer to him, pointing her manicured finger at his chest. "People like you make me sick," she continued. "You poor men think you can walk around and do whatever you want. You think you can look at women like me and nothing will happen. You think because you are old, you are innocent." A young man from the crowd stepped forward. He had been standing nearby when everything started. "Madam, please," he said respectfully. "This man did nothing wrong. I was here. I saw everything. He was just walking behind you. He was minding his own business." Sabrina turned to him with fire in her eyes. "Who asked for your opinion?" she snapped. "Is he your father? Mind your business and stay out of this." An elderly woman also spoke up. "The young man is right, my dear. I was watching too. That old man was not bothering you at all." But Sabrina was not listening. Her pride was wounded. Her anger was boiling. "All of you are defending him because he is old," she said loudly, looking around at the crowd. "But I know what I saw, and I will not let any man disrespect me. I do not care how old he is." She turned back to the old man, who stood quietly with his head slightly bowed. "You poor men are all the same," she continued. "You have nothing, you are nothing, and you think you can touch the life of people like me." The old man looked up at her. His eyes were sad but calm. "Madam, I never touched you. I was just walking." "Stop lying," Sabrina shouted. "You were too close to me." You are invading my space. How dare you walk so close to a woman like me? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I am worth? She grabbed her designer handbag and held it up. This bag costs more than what you will make in 10 years, she said with a cruel smile. So do not stand there and pretend you are innocent. Stay in your lane. Know your place. Some people in the crowd shook their heads in disapproval. Others looked at the old man with pity. A security guard from the mall walked over. Madam, is everything okay? Sabrina turned to him. This man was harassing me, but I have handled it. He knows now not to mess with me. The security guard looked at the old man. Sir, do you need help? The old man shook his head slowly. No, I am fine, thank you. Sabrina looked at him one last time with pure disgust. Next time, watch where you walk, and keep your dirty eyes to yourself. She flipped her hair over her shoulder and walked toward the parking lot. Her driver was already standing beside a shiny black Range Rover. He quickly opened the back door for her. Sabrina climbed inside without looking back. The door slammed shut. The engine roared to life. Within seconds, the Range Rover sped away, leaving a trail of dust behind. The crowd slowly began to break apart. Some people walked away, shaking their heads. Others stayed for a moment longer, looking at the old man. A kind woman approached him gently. Sir, are you okay? The old man nodded. Yes, madam, I am fine. That woman was very rude. Another person said, she should not have treated you like that. The old man smiled faintly. It is okay. I am used to it. But his voice was tired. His shoulders sagged. He walked slowly to the side of the road and sat down on the curb. He placed his hands on his knees and stared at the ground. His face showed no anger, only sadness. People passed by him, some glancing at him with pity, others not looking at all. Nobody knew who he really was. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody knew that his life was not what it seemed. And nobody knew that the woman who slapped him would soon face a shock she would never forget. 30 minutes later, Sabrina's Range Rover pulled into the driveway of a large modern house. The gates were tall and made of black iron. The walls were painted white and cream. A small fountain sat in the middle of the front yard, water flowing gently. Flowers lined the walkway. Everything about the house screamed wealth. Sabrina stepped out of the car. Her heels clicked on the stone pathway as she walked toward the front door. Her driver carried her shopping bags behind her. She pushed the door open and walked inside. The air was cool from the air conditioning. The floors were shiny marble. Expensive paintings hung on the walls. Sabrina, you are back. A gentle voice called from the living room. It was her mother, Mrs. Adayeze. She was in her early 50s, a beautiful woman with kind eyes and a soft smile. She wore an expensive wrapper and blouse. Her hair was tied in a bun. She looked nothing like her daughter. Mrs. Adayeze had always been humble. She believed in kindness, respect, and helping others. But her daughter had grown up differently. Sabrina loved money, status, and power. Yes, Mama, Sabrina replied, dropping her handbag on the leather couch. Mrs. Adayeze stood up and walked closer. How was your day, my dear? Did you find what you were looking for at the mall? Sabrina sighed and kicked off her heels. The shopping was fine, Mama, but something annoying happened. Her mother sat down slowly, concern filling her face. What happened? Sabrina waved her hand carelessly. Some dirty old man was following me. He was staring at me with his ugly eyes. I had to teach him a lesson. Mrs. Adayeze's face changed. Her smile disappeared. Sabrina, what do you mean you taught him a lesson? I slapped him, Sabrina said casually, as if she was talking about the weather. Right there in front of everyone. He needed to know he cannot disrespect me. Her mother's eyes widened in shock. You slapped an old man, Sabrina. Yes, Mama, and he deserved it. He was poor, dirty, and had no manners. Mrs. Adayeze shook her head slowly. Pain filled her eyes. My daughter, what have you become? That is not how I raised you. You cannot treat people like that. Sabrina rolled her eyes. Mama, please, do not start. That man was nothing. He is probably homeless or a beggar. People like him need to learn respect. Respect? Her mother repeated, her voice rising slightly. You are talking about respect? Sabrina, that old man is someone's father. He is someone's husband. He has feelings. He has a story. You do not know what he has been through in life." Sabrina stood up, irritation clear on her face. "Mama, I know you mean well, but I do not need a lecture right now. I did what I had to do." "No," Mrs. Adaez said firmly. "You did not have to slap him. You chose to, and that choice was wrong." She walked closer to her daughter and placed a hand on her shoulder. "My dear, listen to me. Money does not make you better than anyone. Your wealth does not give you the right to look down on others. That old man may be poor today, but tomorrow, God can lift him up, and you, with all your money, can fall." Sabrina pulled away. "Mama, you worry too much. That will never happen to me. I am smart, I am successful, I know how to protect myself." Mrs. Adaez sighed deeply. "Pride comes before a fall, Sabrina. I pray you learn this lesson before it is too late." Sabrina picked up her handbag. "Mama, I am tired. I am going upstairs to rest." She turned and walked toward the staircase, her footsteps echoing in the quiet house. Mrs. Adaez stood alone in the living room. She looked up at the ceiling and whispered a quiet prayer. "God, please soften my daughter's heart. Please teach her to love people, not just money." She sat down slowly, her heart heavy with worry. On the other side of Lagos, far from the noise and chaos of the city center, a massive mansion stood tall. It was surrounded by high walls, tall trees, and security cameras. The gates were made of solid steel. Guards stood at every entrance. Inside the mansion, everything was perfect. The floors were polished marble. The furniture was imported. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The walls were decorated with expensive art. In the large living room, a young man sat on a leather couch. He wore a simple white shirt and black trousers. His face was handsome, with sharp features and calm eyes. His name was Caleb. He was 32 years old. Caleb was a billionaire. He owned a successful tech company that operated across Africa. He had money, power, and influence. But despite all his wealth, he was still searching for something important. Love. Real love. Not the kind of love that came because of money, but the kind that came from the heart. He scrolled through his phone, reading emails and business reports. His mind was focused, his face serious. Suddenly, the front door opened. Caleb looked up. An old man walked inside. He looked tired. His clothes were old and worn. His sandals were cracked. His face showed exhaustion. But the moment he stepped into the mansion, his posture straightened a little. His eyes softened. This was the same man Sabrina had slapped earlier that day. His name was Mr. Richard, and he was Caleb's father. Caleb stood up immediately. "Papa, you went out again today?" Mr. Richard nodded slowly as he sat down on the couch. "Yes, my son, I did." Caleb shook his head, frustration clear in his voice. "Papa, I have told you many times, you do not need to do this. You do not need to go out there and suffer like this. We have everything. You do not need to walk the streets dressed like a poor man." Mr. Richard looked at his son with tired but determined eyes. He placed his hands on his knees and spoke quietly. "Caleb, sit down. Let me explain something to you." Caleb sat down slowly, waiting. "Do you remember your mother?" Mr. Richard asked. Caleb's face became serious. "Yes, Papa, I remember her." Mr. Richard nodded. "Your mother was a beautiful woman. I loved her with all my heart, but she did not love me. She loved money." He paused, his eyes distant, as if remembering painful memories. "When I met her, I was poor. I was struggling to make a living. But she said she loved me. She said money did not matter. She said we would build a life together." Caleb listened quietly. "But the moment things became harder," Mr. Richard continued, "she left. She said I would never amount to anything. She said she deserved a better life. She took everything and walked away. She left you. She left me. She did not care." Caleb's jaw tightened. He remembered the pain of growing up without his mother. "I worked hard after that," Mr. Richard said. "I built this empire for you. I made sure you would never suffer the way I did. But I also learned something important, my son." He looked directly into Caleb's eyes. "I learned that many people only love money. They do not love the person. They love what the person can give them. And I do not want that for you. I do not want you to marry a woman who only loves your wealth." Caleb sighed. "Papa, I understand your fear, but not every woman is like my mother." "That is true," Mr. Richard agreed. But how do you know which one is real and which one is fake? How do you know if a woman loves you or loves your money? He leaned forward. That is why I go out there, my son. I disguise myself as a poor man. I walk the streets. I watch. I test. I observe how people treat the poor. Because if a woman can respect a poor man, if she can show kindness to someone who has nothing, then she is worth knowing. But if she looks down on the poor, if she treats them like dirt, then she is not the right woman for you. Caleb was silent for a moment. He understood his father's pain. He understood his fear. Papa, Caleb said gently, I appreciate what you are doing, but you are putting yourself in danger. What if something happens to you out there? Mr. Richard smiled faintly. I am careful, my son. I have security watching me from a distance. They are always there, even though no one sees them. He stood up slowly. One day, he said softly, I will find the right woman for you, and when I do, I will know her heart is pure. He walked toward the staircase. Caleb watched his father disappear upstairs. His heart was filled with both love and worry, but he said nothing more. 2 weeks passed quietly. Life continued as normal. Sabrina worked at her cosmetics business. Caleb managed his tech company. And Mr. Richard continued his secret mission, walking the streets in disguise, searching for a good-hearted woman for his son. Then one afternoon, an invitation arrived. It was for the biggest gala event of the year, the annual Lagos Billionaires Gala. Every wealthy family in the city would be there, business owners, politicians, celebrities, and socialites. It was the event of the season. Sabrina received her invitation and screamed with excitement. She immediately called her stylist, her makeup artist, and her hairdresser. She wanted to look perfect. She wanted to be the most beautiful woman at the gala. She spent hours choosing the perfect dress. She finally selected a stunning red gown with gold embroidery. It was long, elegant, and expensive. She paired it with gold jewelry and designer heels. Her mother, Mrs. Adayeze, chose a simple but elegant blue dress. She did not care about showing off. She only wanted to look decent. On the night of the gala, they arrived at the venue together. It was the Golden Heights Hotel, the most luxurious hotel in Lagos. The entrance was decorated with lights. A red carpet stretched from the parking lot to the front doors. Photographers stood on both sides, cameras flashing. Sabrina stepped out of the car like a queen. She smiled and waved at the cameras. She posed for photos. She loved the attention. Her mother followed quietly behind her, humble and calm. Inside the grand ballroom, the scene was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling. Round tables were covered in white cloth and gold decorations. A live band played soft music in the corner. Waiters moved smoothly through the crowd, carrying trays of drinks and appetizers. Sabrina walked through the room with her head held high. She greeted people she knew. She laughed loudly, she flirted, she made sure everyone saw her. On the other side of the city, Caleb stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his black tuxedo. He looked sharp and handsome. His father stood beside him, also dressed in a tailored black suit. But tonight, Mr. Richard did not look like a poor man. He looked like a king. His suit was expensive, his shoes were polished, his hair was neatly combed. He looked powerful and dignified. "Are you ready, Papa?" Caleb asked. Mr. Richard nodded. "Yes, my son, let us go." They walked outside to a sleek black Mercedes-Benz. The driver opened the doors for them. They climbed inside and drove toward the gala. When they arrived at the Golden Heights Hotel, security guards opened their doors, cameras flashed, people turned to look. Caleb and his father walked inside with calm confidence. Inside the ballroom, guests greeted them with respect. Business partners shook Caleb's hand. Politicians smiled and nodded at Mr. Richard. But Mr. Richard was not focused on the greetings. His eyes scanned the room carefully, searching. Then he saw her, Sabrina. She was standing near the dessert table, holding a glass of champagne. She was talking to a young waiter. Her voice was loud and sharp. "I said I wanted sparkling water, not still water," she snapped at the waiter. "Are you deaf? Can you not understand simple English?" The young waiter bowed his head. "I am very sorry, madam. I will get it for you right away." "You better," Sabrina said coldly, "and be quick about it. I do not have all night." Mr. Richard's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightened. He recognized her immediately. It was the same woman who had slapped him outside the mall. He said nothing, but he watched her closely. Later that evening, as the band played and people danced, Sabrina spotted Caleb across the room. Her eyes lit up like fireworks. She had met him a few times at different events. She knew he was rich. She knew he was single, and she wanted him. She adjusted her dress, fixed her hair, and walked toward him with a bright fake smile. "Caleb," she called sweetly. Caleb turned around. "Sabrina, good evening." "Good evening," she said, her voice soft and gentle. "It has been too long since we last spoke. How have you been?" "I have been well," Caleb replied politely. "And you?" "Wonderful," she said, leaning slightly closer. "You know, I have been thinking about you." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" "Yes," Sabrina said, touching his arm lightly. "I think we should spend more time together. I feel like we have a lot in common." Caleb smiled politely but did not respond. They talked for a few more minutes. Sabrina laughed at everything Caleb said. She complimented him. She batted her eyelashes. She played the role of a sweet, innocent woman perfectly. From across the room, Mr. Richard watched the interaction. His heart felt heavy. He knew what she was doing. He knew she was pretending. As the night came to an end, guests began to leave. Caleb and his father walked toward their car. On the way home, Mr. Richard sat quietly in the passenger seat. Caleb glanced at him. "Papa, you have been quiet all night. Is something wrong?" Mr. Richard turned to his son. "Caleb, who was that woman you were talking to at the gala?" "You mean Sabrina?" Caleb asked. "We have met a few times at different parties. She is a businesswoman. She owns a cosmetics company. She seems interested in me." Mr. Richard nodded slowly. "I see. Why do you ask?" Caleb said. "Just be careful, my son," Mr. Richard replied. "Some people are very good at pretending. They smile in your face, but their hearts are dark." Caleb smiled. "Papa, you worry too much. I can take care of myself." But Mr. Richard did not smile back. He only stared out the window into the dark night. In the days that followed, Sabrina and Caleb began spending more time together. She called him every day. She sent him sweet text messages. She invited him to lunch at expensive restaurants. Caleb enjoyed her company. She was beautiful. She was smart. She made him laugh. One afternoon, Caleb invited her to his home. "Sabrina, I would like you to meet my father," he said. Sabrina's heart raced with excitement. "I would love to meet him." They drove to the mansion together. When they arrived, Mr. Richard was sitting in the living room, reading a newspaper. "Papa, this is Sabrina," Caleb said with a smile. Sabrina stepped forward gracefully. She wore a soft smile. Her voice was sweet as honey. "Good afternoon, sir. It is such a great honor to meet you," she said, bowing her head respectfully. Mr. Richard looked up at her. He studied her face carefully. She did not recognize him. She had no idea he was the same man she had slapped outside the mall. "Good afternoon," he replied calmly. Sabrina sat down and spoke politely. She praised the beautiful house. She complimented the furniture. She laughed softly at Caleb's jokes. She called Mr. Richard sir with every sentence. But Mr. Richard saw through it all. He saw the fake smile. He saw the sugar-coated words. He saw the performance. After an hour, Sabrina stood up to leave. "Thank you so much for welcoming me into your home, sir," she said sweetly. "I hope to see you again soon." Mr. Richard nodded, but said nothing. After she left, Caleb turned to his father with a hopeful smile. "What do you think, Papa?" Mr. Richard chose his words carefully. "She is polite." "But," Caleb asked, sensing hesitation. "But I do not trust her," his father said firmly. "My son, please be careful with this woman. I do not think she is who she pretends to be." Caleb frowned. "Papa, you are being paranoid. You do not even know her." "I know enough," Mr. Richard replied. Caleb sighed in frustration. "Papa, I understand you want to protect me, but you cannot keep me away from every woman I meet. I am not a child anymore." "I know you are not a child," his father said softly, "but I am still your father, and I will always protect you, whether you like it or not." Caleb shook his head and walked out of the room. Mr. Richard sat alone in silence. His heart was troubled. He knew what he had to do next. A few days later, Mr. Richard put on his old clothes again. The faded shirt, the torn trousers, the cracked sandals. He left the mansion quietly and went to a small cafe on the other side of the city. He sat at a corner table near the window and ordered a cup of tea. Then he waited. 20 minutes later, Sabrina walked into the cafe. She was meeting a friend for lunch. She wore designer sunglasses and carried an expensive handbag. She did not notice the old man sitting in the corner. Mr. Richard watched her quietly. She sat down at a table and ordered her food. She talked loudly on her phone. She laughed. She took selfies. A few minutes later, the waiter brought her order. "Here is your food, madam," the waiter said politely. Sabrina looked at the plate and frowned. Why did it take so long? "I apologize, madam. The kitchen was very busy today." "Busy?" Sabrina snapped. "I do not care if the kitchen was busy. I have been sitting here for almost 30 minutes. This is completely unacceptable." The waiter bowed his head. "I am very sorry, madam. Your apology does not fix anything," she said harshly. "You people are so slow and useless. Do you even know who I am? I could buy this entire cafe if I wanted to." The waiter said nothing. He simply walked away quietly. Mr. Richard's eyes hardened. He had seen enough. His worst fears were confirmed. He stood up, left money on the table, and walked out of the cafe. That night, he sat with Caleb in the living room. "My son," he said seriously, "I need to tell you something very important." Caleb looked up from his laptop. "What is it, Papa?" "That woman, Sabrina, she is not a good person." Caleb closed his laptop and sighed. "Papa, please, not this again." "Listen to me," his father said firmly. "I have been watching her. I have tested her. She is rude. She is cruel. She treats people badly. She does not respect anyone she thinks is below her. She only cares about money and status." Caleb stood up, frustration clear on his face. "Papa, why are you doing this? Why do you not want me to be happy?" "I want you to be happy," Mr. Richard said, his voice rising slightly. "But not with someone like her. She will destroy you, my son. She will only love your money, not you." "You are being unfair," Caleb said. "You do not even know her. You are judging her without giving her a chance." "I know more than you think," his father replied. But Caleb refused to listen. He grabbed his car keys and walked out of the house. Mr. Richard sat alone in the empty living room. His heart was heavy, but his mind was made up. He knew exactly what he needed to do. 3 weeks later, the announcement was made. Caleb and Sabrina were officially engaged. The news spread quickly across social media. Friends congratulated them. Families celebrated. Plans were made for a grand engagement party. Sabrina was over the moon. She posted photos on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. She called all her friends and bragged about marrying a billionaire. She planned every detail of the event. Her mother, Mrs. Adaez, was happy for her daughter. But deep in her heart, she felt uneasy. Something did not feel right. The engagement party was set to take place at the Golden Heights Hotel, the same luxurious venue where the gala had been held. No expense was spared. The ballroom was decorated with thousands of white roses. Crystal chandeliers sparkled. A live band was hired. The guest list included over 200 people. On the day of the engagement, the hotel was buzzing with excitement. Guests arrived in expensive cars. Women wore designer gowns. Men wore tailored suits. Cameras flashed. Music played. Sabrina looked like a princess. She wore a stunning pastel-color gown with silver embroidery. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair was styled perfectly. She wore diamond jewelry that sparkled under the lights. Caleb stood beside her in a sharp navy blue suit. He looked handsome and proud. Mr. Richard stood near the entrance, watching everything quietly. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Everything seemed perfect. Everyone was smiling. The atmosphere was joyful. Then something unexpected happened. The sound of footsteps echoed across the marble floor. Guests turned to look. An old man walked slowly into the ballroom. He wore faded, torn clothes. His sandals were cracked. His face was tired. He looked completely out of place among the wealthy guests. Security guards immediately moved toward him. "Sir, this is a private event," one guard said. "You cannot be here." But the old man kept walking. He moved past them calmly. Sabrina was greeting guests near the stage when she noticed the commotion. She turned and saw him. Her smile froze. Her eyes widened. Her heart stopped. She recognized him immediately. "What is he doing here?" she whispered to herself. She marched toward him, her heels clicking loudly on the floor. Her face was filled with anger. "How dare you enter this place?" she hissed. "This is a private event, for invited guests only. Get out right now." The old man looked at her calmly. He said nothing. Sabrina's eyes narrowed. Then recognition flashed across her face. "Wait," she said slowly. "I know you. You are that man, the one from the mall, the one I slapped." Guests began to gather. Whispers spread through the room. "You have been stalking me," Sabrina shouted. "You followed me here. You want to ruin my engagement. Security! Get this man out of here immediately." Caleb rushed over. "Sabrina, what is going on?" "This man is a stalker," Sabrina said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "He has been following me for weeks. Look at him. He is dirty. He is poor. He does not belong here." The old man stood silently. He did not defend himself. He did not speak. He only looked at her. Sabrina's anger exploded. "You are pathetic," she spat. "You think you can come here and embarrass me? You think you can stand in front of all these people and make me look bad?" She stepped closer, her voice dripping with venom. "People like you should know your place. You are nothing. You have nothing. You will always be nothing. Now get out before I have you arrested." Caleb tried to calm her down. "Sabrina, please, let security handle this." But Sabrina was beyond reason. She pointed her finger at the old man. "You are a disgrace. You are an embarrassment. Leave now." The old man turned slowly. He walked toward the exit. Sabrina smiled in victory. She turned back to her guests, ready to continue the celebration. But then something happened that no one expected. The sound of helicopter blades filled the air. The loud noise shook the windows. Everyone looked up. A helicopter was landing on the rooftop of the hotel. Sabrina's face lit up with excitement. "That must be my father-in-law. He came in a helicopter. Did you all see that? My father-in-law arrived in a helicopter." She clapped her hands. She smiled proudly. She looked around at the guests, waiting for them to be impressed. Guests murmured among themselves. Cameras pointed toward the ceiling. A few minutes later, footsteps echoed from the staircase. Everyone turned to look. A man appeared at the top of the stairs. He wore a sharp, expensive black suit. His shoes were polished to perfection. His presence commanded the entire room. It was Mr. Richard, but this time he did not look like a poor man. He looked like royalty. Sabrina's smile began to fade. Confusion spread across her face. Mr. Richard walked down the stairs slowly. Every eye in the room was on him. He walked straight to the microphone on the stage. He tapped it gently. The sound echoed through the silent ballroom. "Good evening, everyone," he said, his voice calm but powerful. "My name is Richard Okafor. I am Caleb's father." Gasps filled the room. Sabrina's face turned pale. "I came here tonight to share something very important with all of you," Mr. Richard continued. "Many of you know me as a successful businessman. But what you do not know is that for the past few months, I have been walking the streets of Lagos disguised as a poor man." The room erupted in whispers. "I did this," he said, "because I wanted to find a good woman for my son, a woman who would love him for who he is, not for what he has. A woman with a kind heart, a woman with respect and dignity, a woman who treats all people equally, whether they are rich or poor." He paused and looked directly at Sabrina. The room fell into complete silence. "3 weeks ago," he continued, "outside the Golden Plaza shopping mall, I was walking quietly, minding my own business. And this woman," he pointed at Sabrina, "slapped me in public." Sabrina's mouth opened, but no words came out. Her face turned red with shame. "She insulted me," Mr. Richard said. "She called me dirty. She said I was nothing. She said I was beneath her. She mocked my clothes, my appearance, everything about me. She showed no mercy, no compassion, no respect." Guests turned to stare at Sabrina. Some shook their heads in disgust. Others whispered to each other. "But I did not say anything that day," Mr. Richard continued. "I walked away quietly. I wanted to give her a chance. I wanted to see if maybe she was just having a bad day. So I watched her. I tested her." He looked around the room. "I went to a cafe where she was eating. I watched how she treated the waiter who brought her food a few minutes late. She insulted him. She belittled him. She made him feel worthless just because he was doing his job. The room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. "I came to this house," Mr. Richard said, gesturing to Caleb. "My son brought her here to meet me." She smiled sweetly. She spoke politely. She called me sir with every sentence. She acted like the perfect woman. He paused, but I knew it was all an act. I knew her true character, and tonight, just a few minutes ago, she proved it once again. When she saw me dressed as a poor man, she insulted me. She called me pathetic. She said I was nothing. She wanted me thrown out like trash. Sabrina's hands began to shake. Tears filled her eyes. "I am not here to cancel this engagement," Mr. Richard said firmly. "That is my son's decision to make. I am only here to show everyone the truth. I am here to reveal her true face. Because a woman who cannot respect the poor, who cannot show kindness to those who have less, is not worthy of a good man's love." He stepped away from the microphone and looked at his son. Caleb stood frozen. His face showed a mixture of shock, anger, and betrayal. He slowly turned to Sabrina. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice cold. Sabrina opened her mouth. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Caleb, please. Let me explain. Is it true?" he repeated, his voice louder. Sabrina looked down at her hands. She could not lie anymore. "Yes," she whispered. Caleb took a step back, as if he had been struck. "I saw how you spoke to my father earlier when he came in. I thought maybe you were just shocked. Maybe you were confused. But now I understand. This is who you really are." "No, Caleb, please," Sabrina begged, reaching for his hand. "I am sorry. I made a mistake. I will change. I promise you, I will be better." But Caleb pulled his hand away. "You will change? How can you change who you are inside? How can you change a heart that looks down on people?" He shook his head slowly. "I cannot marry someone who judges people by their clothes and their bank accounts. I cannot marry someone who treats others like they are worthless. I cannot marry someone who has no respect for human dignity." "Caleb, please," Sabrina cried, falling to her knees. "Please do not do this. I love you." "No," Caleb said firmly. "You do not love me. You love my money. You love my status. You love what I can give you. But you do not love me." He looked around at the guests. "The engagement is off," he announced. Gasps filled the room. Cameras flashed. Guests began whispering loudly. Sabrina sobbed uncontrollably. "No, please, please do not leave me. I am sorry. I am so sorry." But Caleb had already turned away. He walked toward his father. "Let us go, Papa," he said quietly. Mr. Richard placed a hand on his son's shoulder. Together they walked toward the exit. Guests began to leave. Some looked at Sabrina with pity. Others looked at her with disgust. A few spat harsh words as they passed. "How could you treat an old man like that? You are shameful. You deserve what you got." One by one, the ballroom emptied. The music stopped. The lights seemed dimmer. The beautiful decorations suddenly looked cold and empty. Only two people remained. Sabrina knelt on the floor, her white gown spread around her like a broken cloud. Her makeup was ruined from crying. Her hands covered her face. Beside her stood Mrs. Adayeze, her mother. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked at her daughter with pain in her heart. "Sabrina," she said softly, "I warned you. I told you to respect people. I told you that pride would destroy you, but you did not listen." Sabrina looked up at her mother, her face swollen from crying. "Mama, what do I do now? How do I fix this?" Mrs. Adayez knelt beside her daughter and held her hand. "You cannot fix this, my dear," she said gently. "What is done, but you can learn from it. You can change. You can become a better person." "But I have lost everything," Sabrina sobbed. "Everyone saw what happened. Everyone knows the truth. How will I face anyone again?" "You face them with humility," her mother said. "You admit your mistakes, you apologize to those you have hurt, and you spend the rest of your life treating people with the respect they deserve." Sabrina cried harder. Her body shook with grief and regret. Mrs. Adayez wrapped her arms around her daughter. "Come, my child, let us go home." She helped Sabrina to her feet. Slowly, they walked out of the empty ballroom, leaving behind the shattered dreams and broken promises. Outside, the night air was cool. The city lights twinkled in the distance. Life continued as normal for everyone else. But for Sabrina, nothing would ever be the same again. Meanwhile, in the back of the Mercedes-Benz, Caleb sat quietly beside his father. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Caleb broke the silence. "Thank you, Papa," he said softly. "Thank you for protecting me." Mr. Richard turned to his son. "I did what any father would do. I could not let you marry someone who would hurt you." Caleb nodded. "I understand now why you went out there. I understand why you tested people. I was angry with you before, but now I see you were right." Mr. Richard placed his hand on Caleb's shoulder. "My son, true love is rare, but when you find it, you will know, because true love sees beyond money. True love sees beyond status. True love sees the heart." Caleb smiled faintly. "One day, Papa, one day I will find that love." "You will," his father said with confidence, "and when you do, I will be the first to celebrate." They drove through the quiet streets of Lagos, heading home. The mansion was waiting for them, warm and peaceful. Back at Sabrina's house, Mrs. Adeyes helped her daughter upstairs. Sabrina lay in her bed, still crying softly. Her mother sat beside her, stroking her hair gently. "Mama," Sabrina whispered, "I was so foolish. I thought money was everything. I thought status was power. But I was wrong." "Yes, my dear," her mother said softly. "You were wrong, but now you know the truth, and that is the first step to becoming better." Sabrina closed her eyes. Her heart was broken, her pride was shattered, her reputation was destroyed. But somewhere deep inside, a small seed of change began to grow. Maybe, just maybe, this painful lesson would transform her into the person she was always meant to be. 3 months passed slowly. Sabrina stayed away from the public eye. She closed her social media accounts. She stopped attending parties and events. She spent most of her time at home, reflecting on her life. Her mother encouraged her to volunteer at a local charity. At first, Sabrina was hesitant, but slowly she began to help. She served food to the homeless. She donated clothes. She listened to people's stories. And for the first time in her life, she saw the poor not as beneath her, but as human beings with feelings, dreams, and dignity. One afternoon, while serving food at a shelter, Sabrina saw an old man sitting in the corner. He reminded her of Mr. Richard. Her heart squeezed with guilt and regret. She walked over to him and knelt down. "Good afternoon, sir," she said gently. "Would you like some food?" The old man looked up at her with tired eyes. "Yes, please." Sabrina served him with care. She made sure his plate was full. She gave him water. She asked if he needed anything else. The old man smiled. "Thank you, my daughter. God bless you." Tears filled Sabrina's eyes. "No, sir, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to serve you." She walked away quietly, her heart lighter than it had been in months. Meanwhile, Caleb continued with his life. He focused on his business. He spent time with his father. He traveled. He read. He prayed. And he waited patiently for the right woman to come into his life. One evening, Mr. Richard sat with his son in the living room. "My son," he said, "I am proud of you." Caleb looked at his father. "Why, Papa?" "Because you made the right choice," Mr. Richard said. "It was not easy, but you chose character over beauty. You chose integrity over status. You chose your values over temporary happiness." Caleb smiled. "You taught me well, Papa." Mr. Richard smiled back. "And one day, when you find the right woman, I will know, because she will treat everyone with respect. She will see people's hearts, not their wallets. She will love you for who you are, not for what you have." "I believe that day will come," Caleb said. "It will," his father replied. "Be patient. Good things come to those who wait." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the sunset through the large windows. Somewhere across the city, Sabrina sat in her room, writing in her journal. She wrote about her mistakes. She wrote about her lessons. She wrote about her hope for redemption. "I was wrong," she wrote. "I judged people by their appearance. I measured worth by wealth. I thought I was better than others because I had money. But I was blind. True worth is not in what you have, but in who you are. True beauty is not in expensive clothes, but in a kind heart. True power is not in how you treat the rich, but in how you treat the poor." She closed her journal and looked out the window at the dark sky. Stars twinkled above like tiny lights of hope. Maybe she had lost Caleb, maybe she had lost her reputation, maybe she had lost everything she thought mattered. But she had gained something far more valuable. She had gained wisdom, she had gained humility, she had gained a chance to become a better person. And that, she realized, was worth more than all the money in the world. The story of the slap spread across Lagos. People talked about it for months. It became a lesson that parents told their children. It became a warning that young people shared with each other. Treat everyone with respect, they said, because you never know who is watching. You never know who is testing you. You never know whose father you might be insulting. And in homes across the city, mothers and fathers gathered their children and told them the most important lesson of all. Money can buy you many things, but it cannot buy you character. It cannot buy you respect. It cannot buy you a good heart. So be kind, be humble, be respectful, because in the end, it is not what you have that matters. It is who you are. My dear viewers, what do you think about this touching story? Please share your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to read from you. And guess what? In a few days, I will upload another very interesting story. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell so you will be notified immediately the story drops. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching.